You're listening to Zoom the TBT with Charge and Hayner.
Hey guys, it's Charge Hayner present Zoom the TBT, and tonight we're doing our bracketology right after the applications have closed. Charge, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing awesome. Obviously, June 15th, application period ended. It's like Christmas in June, getting ready to unwrap these brackets. Excited to hear the feedback and see where the teams may fall out.
Good time to mention we have some guests tonight as guest analysts. Matt Shelton-Eide, the former GM of BC Ram Nation and current GM of prospective team Bleed Virginia. Matt, what's going on?
Hey fellas, just kind of was living that same GM dream everyone was these last couple of days, kind of lock in guys and trying to get across the finish line with enough dudes. So it's good to be here at this point.
Yeah, crazy amount of effort goes into it. You guys at least have earned at least one night of sleep tonight, which I'm really happy for you guys. We also have Daniel Holdsman, the GM of Team Brotherly Love out of Philly. Daniel, how you doing tonight?
Charge Hayner, what's happening, guys? Kind of as Matt mentioned, past few days have been fun to watch everything. Our roster has been mainly locked in for a bit, so we missed out on a lot of the fun happening. But hopefully, we have a couple more moves before we tip off in July.
Well, locked in means though you're ready to go, which saves everybody a lot of time. So we really respect that. Danny, Matt, thanks for coming on. So Charge, let's walk through the regions a little bit.
Yeah, no, so if you're just tuning in, hopefully everyone knows this, but just a reminder, 4 regions back this year. So 16 teams, 4 regions. We got Wichita out in that kind of western area, West Virginia, covering the east, and then a couple solid locations for the Midwest. You got Columbus and Illinois, some really strong host teams in those 4 regions. It's going to be great fans, great basketball, and it's going to be a fantastic time.
And these are 4 really big basketball states. The regions are pretty strong. Let's get right to what our overall number 1 seeds are. So this is where we want to know who's the top dogs by region. And right off the bat, Charge, you see a big change, the biggest shakeup in the bracket from our last bracketology.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me talk about Wichita. So, yeah, this is a change up. I did have a challenge ALS in that number 1 spot in the prior rankings, but after looking at swapping out Tyrese Rice for Justin Dentman, not much of a downgrade, but I just really think Florida TNT upgraded. This region lacks a real solid powerhouse alumni team, so we just got to go out there and recognize that Florida TNT is the best team out there with Dominique Jones. They got Keith Clanton, Blakeney, Purcell. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on. This team is loaded, deserves a number 1 seed, and based on the mix of the teams, right place, right spot for those guys this year.
Yeah, Wichita's got a lot of really good teams at the top, which we'll see in the bracket. There's a lot of room at the 1 to 6 range. There's not a lot of division. So, Daniel, obviously you're applying to go to Illinois out of Philly. Golden Eagles is the number 1 seed. Would that be a team you would like to see before or after Brotherly Love gets to Dayton?
I think from our perspective, it really, I know it's kind of a cop-out answer. It really doesn't matter. We've seen them twice throughout our time in TBT, obviously lost both times, and we in order to win, which is the ultimate goal, I imagine we're going to have to see them. I don't think they'd be upset before us. So, if we see them in Illinois, if we see them in Dayton, we're going to have to go through them either way. So round 1 or round 5 or 6,
completely
got to beat them.
You gotta beat the champ to be the champ. And we won't belabor too much the sideline and Carmen's crew. One's a champ, one maybe a soon champ. 2 favorite teams, 2 really well-liked teams, and 2 number 1s. Matt, you as the leader of VCU Nation have played. It's a good time to mention the one team we have to mention not playing this year, which is the 4-time champ Overseas Elite. You've had the pleasure of playing against them a couple times. Give them the proper send-off they deserve before they come back and try to whip everybody's ass in 2022.
Yeah, I was actually texting our coach for this year today, and he sent me that, and I said, I wish they would have taken one of those previous years off that we played them. They beat us 3 times. Of the 4 years I played, we ran into them 3 times, and our second year we were up 9 pretty late on them, and so I thought it was going to happen, but yeah, I mean they're a heck of a team. So I guess I'm glad they're off this year, but about 2017 and 2018 in particular.
Yeah, the king is dead. Long live the king. Overseas league, please come back. It's always fun to have you guys back. So let's make sure we get you on the show next year and get you in TBT 2022. And with that, let's get to the actual brackets. As usual, I'll take the left, charge at the right. So we are in Wichita. And again, we've already mentioned a very stacked Florida TNT, lots of shooters, lots of grind, lots of defense, a dangerous team. And then friends of the pod and underdogs we love, the Utah Valor, the kings of social media, some deep size, a gritty blue collar work. I think that you saw last night's show we taped, a team that just we have scraping in. The Omaha Blue Crew, Blue Jays alum, going to be a pretty solid team facing the Stillwater Stars. Really curious there who they're going to come back. Obviously, they had an early exit last year, had a little bit of a roster issue with COVID, and I think really they're primed for a rebound. Charge, let's take the right.
Yeah, so we have a number 5 team, Arkansas. Obviously going to be a really, really solid team with Barford and Dusty Hanna. So a lot to like there, and got them slotted at number 5 against the number 12 seed, the Fort Worth Funk. So these are going to be a new team this year, the TCU alumni. Excited about these guys. They got Alex Robinson, the charge guy, so a lot to like there. But this is a good core to people that won the NIT back a few years back. So a lot of that team's going to be there. So I think they're going to be pretty cohesive, and it could be a first-round stunner versus Arkansas. LA Cheaters, everyone's high on the Cheaters. Casper Ware, Derek Williams, solid team at the number 4. And the number 13, we got Purple and Black.
Late entry.
So this is one of those ones that at the right before noon slipped in there. Purple and Black's always a solid competitive team. So this one here, very deep side in Wichita, and Purple and Black is going to show up and be competitive once again.
So, Danny, looking at this bracket, you obviously mentioned your team was in early. Brotherly Love was organized early, always has a core. How interesting is it to you as a GM to see a team come in late like Purple and Black the day of, just really get in last minute? How interesting is that from a GM perspective? We may have lost Danny Temp. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Feel for, you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Go ahead, man.
Great. Yeah, I was just saying, I definitely feel for the GM of that team, whoever it is. I'm sure they were trying to get them in before the last minute, whether it was videos or whatever else. Definitely one of the tougher jobs as a GM, just getting, communicating with other guys, especially when it's during the season. I mean, it's hard to say if that team had been formed and it was just a matter of getting some last minute commitments, or if it really was as last minute as it may seem. Hard to say from the outside, but I don't think it affects how they would play on the court too much in terms of when they were formed.
So, Matt, also talking about this bracket, I know when you were the VCU leader, you had a team that played fast, played deep, played with a lot of speed. Does it warm your heart a little to see like a spiritual sort of cousin of Team Arkansas with those guards, a team that likes to play 94 feet? Is it something like you see a reflection of some teams used to run in that squad?
Yeah, I guess they bit of a precursor to Havoc. Yeah, I mean, I write about VCU basketball. I've done it since 2007. So I like when the teams get up and down. So I know Arkansas, they've had a couple of teams get in this before, and they always look pretty strong. So I'll definitely keep my eyes peeled for their games when they play in Wichita.
Definitely. Let's go to the bottom half of the Wichita bracket. So we're looking at the Aftershocks, a big increase. They've had a really good roster. They're the hosts, and they've actually really benefited from basically Charge's hatred. Also, a lot of additions they've added to the team as they've gone on, playing the Fort Hood Wounded Warriors, a very skilled 15 seed of a lot of guys from Texas who can really play. Bottom half, look at the Enchantment. And honestly, as good as the Enchantment is, there is exactly, talking about cutoffs of where a bracket changes. The Enchantment are a high-quality team, but there seems to be a slight bit of breathing room, if we're starting to separate this, between the 6 and 7 seeds, which we'll see in a minute. Not to say they're not good. They're dangerous as hell, but there's a slight separation. And speaking of this, the seeds of the veteran sort of also teams are starting to go up. We Are V3 has really got a loaded roster this year. This is the highest seed we've ever projected them. A lot of talent. They're definitely starting to build on this. So a 10 seed actually feels pretty right here. Charge on the right.
Yeah, hey, real quick before you go to the other side, well, we'll see ALS there too. But so Aftershocks, what you're going to get in this bracketology is just a little more of what TBT may be likely to do. So, it doesn't mean necessarily what I think is going to have happened, because as you know, I predicted Aftershocks to be an early upset. I still think they're going to go out a little bit earlier. Tyrus McGee was a great ad. But as we go through this side, especially, there's some interesting things on the right side of the screen, but trying to project some matchups and different interesting twists that TBT can do with a matchup standpoint. But with no powerhouse alumni team in this bracket, Aftershocks I don't think falls below or 2 or 3, and try to get them a nice route to the Dayton region.
And that's Vince digging himself a deeper hole with the fans of Wichita.
Speaking of Aftershocks makes a run, I'm done. But yeah, Team ALS. So this one here sat him at number 3. I had him at number 1. Still a solid team. If we did this before the announcement of Detman, I'd probably switch them in Aftershocks. They're just a great team. Detman and
Tyrese lost. The Tyrese Rice thing is just
that's mind blowing to me how that happened. But
right before taping, they added Detman though, so this is still a really good team.
They're a great team. I think 3's fair at this time. They may get a 2. They're going to take on West Coast Ronin. Kyle Rando kind of leading this team over there, another charge guy, and they always come up. They're competitive. They had some great social media this year, so I think they're going to be a solid 14 there. And then number 6, we have Everline Drive versus number 11. Well, yeah, let me talk about that one for a second. So 2 things. I think Everline is probably a little bit better than a 6, but a couple things I really wanted to see here, and TBT may think the same, but Everline versus Kimchi, that's a match made in heaven. A couple OG teams, both evolved and kind of invented themselves. So I love that matchup. And then you can't have a tournament without Team ALS and Everline Drive and doing battles. So I love the matchups there. If TBT agrees, we'll see. But one thing to note, Everline and KBC kind of merged this morning at some point. I was out working and my phone started blowing up, and we had a little bit of a merge there. And the interesting thing is Everline wasn't the only one competing for the services of these KBC guys. They were being highly coveted, and it really put Everline over the top.
That highly coveted thing actually has a lot to do with someone else's seed falling as well.
Yeah. So Everline, I think they're better than a 6, but like I said, I played with the matchups a little bit on this one, and and the 1 through 5s are still great teams that you can't really argue with. It's so tight. A lot of parity this year.
So Danny, you run a regional team, a Philly-based, the Brotherly Love team. Seeing teams like Everline Drive to sort of like embody sort of a group versus an alumni base, how much does that sort of warm your heart, being one of those teams that's identified themselves as a brand, seeing other teams also continue the idea of being a non-alumni brand?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a double-edged sword. On the one hand, you don't have that immediate alumni base to go to and kind of recruit from and have that draw. But then on the other hand, you're able to kind of go after whoever you want. The problem is it becomes a lot harder to get those commitments. And I know Matt at Everline has done a great job in doing that, and kind of at least we're able to say, come play for the Philly team. A lot of guys grew up knowing each other, playing against each other, not really sure what Matt's kind of secret sauce is, but it seems like every year he's able to get a really solid group, and he did the same this year. So, that just looking at this side of the bracket, if it turns out to be true, that would be an absolute battle in round 2 between Everline and ALS. Both teams probably have a championship roster, but that would be a battle in round 2.
I wouldn't discount Kimchi though. Kimchi is one of the most improved teams we've seen, to be honest with you. Like they're a team, and we've mentioned this in our Twitter today, is that they're a team that really came from nothing, just some guys playing high school ball. And let's be clear, they're not as the quality of Everline Drive yet, but they've continued to get better and better. Like they've gone from an afterthought to a real team you have to plan for, you have to fight. Matt, so there's always a saying, you don't want to start over in a career. You've been running one of the highest rated, most loved, biggest jersey sales teams last few years in BCU in animation. You're essentially kind of going back to almost starting it from scratch concept. You're giving up a lot of sort of earned goodwill from a brand. When you see a team like Kimchi Express come up and really begin to elevate their brand, what lessons from your previous experience for an alumni team are you bringing to a regional team? How are you sort of emulating some of these teams that have come to be individual brands?
Well, I mean, I think we've got a little bit more of what brotherly love has going on, and just recruiting to an area. On that note, I'm so curious to know what happened with Tyrese Rice and that ALS team. I was trying to grab him. He's a Richmond guy. He's friends with our coach. I guess we couldn't afford him, but I'm so curious to that move. Yeah, I mean, it's a double-edged sword when you have that alumni. It's really helpful as a GM because you can raise money and you can do all these things. But it's also a bit of a handcuff because there's a lot of guys that are like, I don't want to play for this college team, especially if they played for your rival. So it opens things up a bit. So it's been interesting to see. Kimchi, I feel like initially they weren't quite pistol shrimps, but you know what I mean? They
almost, though. You're on the right track.
That was a close game.
Yeah, like some fun-loving dudes who, were like outmatched on paper, and they've turned it into same deal with Eberline Drive. They're basically on the same trajectory. And so it's interesting to watch those guys do it, particularly Eberline Drive and the jump they made.
Yeah.
The level of talent they were able to get is really impressive. And I talked to Matt a bit, and I got to really pick his brain more. So it's neat to kind of take that dive myself,
Well, Matt's pretty bright. He won our NCAA pool this year, so I had to give him a bunch of money. So I know exactly how smart Matt is. So with every good roster, there's always also some people that are just disappointed. And there's a pretty deep bench here. Now at the top here, Charge, anything striking you at the top of the teams that we're leaving off? There's a couple that I know you want to talk about one of them, I think.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. Team Utah came in really, really late, and let's keep in mind that the TBT folks probably have a ton of videos they still need to put up. So I don't think all the rosters are complete because they're only showing maybe 6 or 7 guys on their webpage. So Team Utah and knock out one of the bottom teams. Louisiana United, another one. Tyron Johnson's not able to play this year, and I struggle to knock them out and not have them in the tournament. But I think this is going to be one of those ones that may just be a retooling year for them. So those are a couple that stick out. They were kind of painful from my standpoint. And I know you have one that
I have to talk about it. I have to talk about Team Washington. So the thing is, we're going to briefly talk about this, is that if they had gotten in, or if they had gotten their sort of organization together and gotten on the website and other stuff, they had commitment videos. They had the commitment videos. They posted them on Instagram. We saw them. We were tagged in them. My assumption is the half court league took a few of them and said, look, you can't do it. I think that's what happened. I really think that we lost some guys to the half court league because cardio's not really a part of basketball. Obviously, it's not something that's important. Yeah, so that's Wichita. Also the teams also on the board, some teams down there also are worth considering. We're going to talk about a few of these bubble teams, both around the cut line a little bit as we go through. Let's get to the next region, though. Still West Virginia. Now, as you guys all know, Charge and I are going to be going down to cover West Virginia in person. We're really excited about it. Should be a lot of fun. And we're going to be going to see Sideline Cancer. They were our first host a year ago. They were our first team host this year, or excuse me, first guest, I say host. And loaded tri-headed backcourt with Creek, Abel, and Keene. Thompson does the dirty work, really loaded team. The buy-in Beasley winners, the Georgia Kings, went down to Georgia. Devil went down to Georgia. They won all the games they had to, and they are in. They are a guaranteed entry. We have them at 16, and that could be a pretty interesting game, oddly enough. D2 is willing to play anyone. This probably is not quite the seed they wanted, so it sets them up with a collision course with Sideline, and it gives them a rather nasty first-round game with the princes of semi-pro ball, the Time players, a team no one wants to face. You can beat them, but they're not going to beat yourselves. Charge.
Yeah, so over on the right-hand side, we have War Ready. So these guys are fully retooled, very full fan base, solid team. They're going to be a lot more cohesive and ready to go this year. I don't see them tripping up like previous years. Really like the Founding Fathers as well. Got them as a 12 seed. They got a lot of fan base out there. They've had some nice run in the women's softball tournament recently. So kind of watching some of that and seeing that fan base rally behind that team was fantastic. So that's an incredible first round matchup. And then we have, of course, our friends from Armored Athlete coming in at the 4 seed, and they've got just a bunch of ballers. Malcolm Miller is back for them. Jamario Jones is just nasty. That dude is going to be all over the board. So I really love what we see from Armored Athlete again this year. And Boo Williams. So this one here, you got Frank Hassel, charge guy. He's a big anchor for that team. And these guys competed before, and they're going to be solid and ready to play. And interestingly enough, we had a nice beef going between Armored Athlete and Boo Williams on Twitter. So why not match them up? And the seeds work out really good here. So
ask and thou shalt receive.
I would love to see this matchup, and we'll see what the TBT does with it.
That would be pretty fun. So, Danny, you pride yourself on having a blue-collar team that fights with the really love. Can you think of any more of a blue-collar matchup than D2 in prime time? I mean, that's a grinders matchup.
No, that absolutely is. Loved watching that D2 team play the past couple of years. Have a lot of guys that work really hard in prime time. Correct me if I'm wrong. They're the team that has Trevor Booker on their roster this year.
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, one of the more when you think blue collar style of play, when we're watching Booker, whether it was on my Sixers or the Pacers or Jazz or wherever else, he kind of sets that tone. I know that's kind of prime time's culture that they've set. So that would be that'd be a war. Maybe a couple guys going off the court in a stretcher or two, but it'd be a fight.
100%. And Matt, you have captained before, or led a team that's gone deep before, Elite 8, Sweet 16, or Super 16s. Can't say Sweet 16s, we get sued. Super 16s. But the key thing is, like, you've been a high seed often, and you've earned it. BCU's had a wonderful team before, and you've led them. How does Sideline not take their success last year for granted, playing a team that got through the Beasley tournament and had to fight hard? How do they not overlook them? How do they prepare for a team like that?
They just come out and be pro ballers. I mean, honestly, they're going to wax them. These dudes, I mean, I get it. This is tournament basketball. I have a saying, I say basketball happens. You can have one game where you're off, they're on. But, like, these dudes are pros. They know what they're doing. So it doesn't matter. It's going to be a funeral for the Kings.
So you just guaranteed they're going to lose now, by the way. By saying that.
So shout out to our guys, Brooklyn Vultures. They were on the podcast with Hayner this week. And, hats off to those guys for going down to the Beasley tournament and, taking control of their fate. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way they wanted, but Georgia Kings is pretty strong. Matt's predicting the blowout. Chris Thomas actually told me Georgia Kings will win this tournament, so he's familiar with some of the ballers down in that area. So not surprised that it's Georgia Kings, especially with Chris telling me that was going to be the play here.
So shout out to Beasley for making this great event for pre-TBT to give teams a chance to get in. It's a great way to enliven the brand and a lot of fun. So Vic Beasley's awesome. And also the Brooklyn Vultures aren't dead yet. We have them around the cut line. So we don't know. They're not dead yet. They're on life support. They're on life support, but they're not dead. To that, the second part of the bracket. Heard that. Everybody's favorite team to give crap to, the troll king of TBT, a beloved fixture that everybody loves and loves to hate, playing Loco Showtime. We got that matchup. We got Fletcher McGee. We got the Elmore twins. Threes. The first one to 170 wins. It'd be like Grinnell basketball up in here. Okay, so this is interesting. Team 23 and I Have a Dream team. So Team 23 and the gentleman behind I Have a Dream really wanted to kind of work together, and they decided to basically kind of, I think, combine the teams. It's an open thing. You go on the webpage for the teams, the videos are interspersed right now. So they seem to be forming a combined team, and they came in kind of late as a combination. It's just now even shaking out on the TBT webpage. So with that combined leadership of the coaching and the GMing, that's going to be a really solid team. And the seed may even end up being low if this is what the kind of team they're going to be able to put together is. But we have them currently matched up with, hey, Matt, there you are. There's Bleed, Virginia, and pretty safely as a 10. And I believe VCU, your alma mater is a 10, I believe went pretty deep a couple of times with Eric Maynor, correct?
With Maynor, I think we were an 11 when we beat Duke, and then they were the 6, and then we went to the Final Four as an 11. So yeah, lower seeds are typically better for us. Then we lost to Stephen F. Austin as a 5. So it's kind of, we like the low seeds at VCU.
Fair enough. Okay.
Hey, just real quick, something to note about Bleed Virginia. I know you're very strategic in the type of players you chose this year, Matt. I mean, just prime time defenders, guys that just get after on the defensive end and really good shooters. Obviously, it seems simple enough, but you were really meticulous picking this out. So, obviously, I guess you can't reveal your whole strategy, but you were public about that in your tweet. So why were those two things really important forming this team?
I mean, I read about basketball. I've done it for years and years and years, and I'm a numbers fan. And to me, the numbers don't lie. I mean, in this format, things happen. I think that happened to us in my last game with Ram Nation. We had a tough game, but yeah, I just look for dudes who play both ways, and I look for guys who are efficient. I don't care about volume players. And so our guys, we got some young guys that we added late. And they're kind of our sort of great unknown, but yeah, I wanted to add guys who I could believe in and throw the numbers out there, and I just trust them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
That should be a lot of fun. Definitely looking forward to Bleed Virginia. Charge.
All right, right-hand side, we got West Virginia. So, yeah, these guys are going to be solid. I mean, their roster is really deep, a lot of players. I think if they manage, and this is something Matt probably knows all too well, too, sometimes you get that roster too deep, that bench gets too deep. It's a challenge to manage the play and keep everyone happy. So if they keep it together, they're going to be a solid team. So, and they're going to play, hopefully, the mental toughness. And these guys here, have a great team. They've done everything on social media. This is going to be, I think, one of the tightest, some of the hardest last cuts. And I just really feel good about the mental toughness team making it through and getting that top 16. Gale Nation, this is a team that still over and over and over again gets overlooked. They have not had a tournament where they didn't show up and play really hard and challenge some teams, never lost in the first round. And so I don't think they get enough credit for some of the things they do. So I'm looking forward to them bringing the same tenacity and putting on a good show at that number 6. And they're going to take on at number 11, the Buccaneers. And I think this is going to be a tremendous matchup. Like I said, this is one of the ones, especially West Virginia, once you get past those first few seeds, 2-3 seeds, I mean, this is a tight, lot of parity. So to have the Buccaneers at 11, I think just speaks to the parity and the depth of what we're dealing with in West Virginia.
So, Charge, go ahead and talk a little bit about the Underground Kings. I know you like him. I know they're probably your hardest cut on the list.
Yeah, it's just one of those ones. I think just too many options from a numbers game. They didn't feel as active this year promoting their teams and the players as they did in years prior. So I think they have a nice team. They would be competitive. They would do well in the TBT. But as you play through the full bracket, I just think some other teams kind of worked their way through that a little bit better this year.
So, Danny, you took your Philadelphia team and took them halfway across the country to Illinois to avoid this exact kind of bloodbath, I suppose. Does looking at this bracket make you feel justified in going to Peoria?
I mean, going to Peoria is a decision we made earlier. Just logistically, we enjoy playing out in Chicago, but definitely a region I don't mind avoiding. I'll say that much. But I mean, you can't really make your decisions purely based on the competition level. Like I said earlier with the Eagles, you're going to have to beat any of these teams to win. So I think it's whoever does make it out of this region may be the most battle tested coming into Dayton. So there's definitely pros and cons to playing in some of the tougher regions.
Absolutely. So, Matt, as a guy who's coming back, who's always been you're a TBT OG, you've been doing this for a long time. Does the appeal of going up to a good guy and generally beloved GM like Iliano, does that appeal to you, having an OG on OG matchup in that first round potentially?
Yeah, I'll take it. That's, I think it's one of the cool things. I don't know them, but I think it's one of the neat things about TBT is you just really get to mingle with so many people in the world of basketball, and you get to meet so many people doing this. I mean, the fact that I know you guys, like,
yeah,
and we're all over the country. So it is neat. Sort of the fraternity of this whole thing. So
absolutely. Absolutely. This is going to be insane. And again, one more shout again, Brooklyn Vultures, really a lot of respect for them trying to go the Beasley route. They're not dead yet. A lot would have to happen for them to break this bracket because of the strength of the teams, but things can't happen. Teams can fall apart. So if you're on this next up line, if you're above the line, if you're at that cut line on the top of these pages, don't give up hope. There might be some issues. There's still going to be some chances for people to move up. Okay, we're halfway home. Let's talk about Columbus, the home of one-time champ Carmen's Crew. Obviously, Charge and I were talking about this team a lot. Briefly, Charge, I know you were concerned about their age. They have reloaded with a bunch of young guys and a medical doctor. How do you feel about this right now?
I feel like I said, I called them out in our 21 with with Vosters and Matt and Scarborough as one of the most improved teams, and to get Kraft back recently is just insane because that was a
Dr.
challenge.
Dr. Kraft.
I don't think he's a doctor yet, is he? I don't know.
I'll look it up later. I'll look it up later.
Yeah.
We'll figure
I
out.
think he's like in his first year of med school, so I don't know. I'll wait till he gets through a few more years before I let him work.
Apprentice Dr. Kraft, and they would be playing. They would be playing, interestingly, a bye teams. We heard about this today, I guess. And Charge, what country are they from? I forgot already.
The Armenian League. The Armenian League. So this one here, a guy named Darius Clark was the finals MVP. I had to look him up. He went to Slippery Rock, really good shooter. I mean, he plays some good ball. I have no idea what to expect from this. If this is going to be the whole team that just won the Armenian finals, or if it's going to be him and some more stateside guys. But that's the beauty of the buy-in. It's it could change at 20,000, but if you want to get into tournament and not leave it up to the selection committee, then there you go. We have the Vahakni City Basketball Club.
I think that's actually their logo. I looked around and tried to find it. It's kind of interesting. So they'd be playing an 8-9 game of blue collar U, really good max squad, a lot of veterans from the teams when Nate Oates was a coach. Brown and white, I know this is the team Charge pretty high on. Charge on the right, what we're looking at here. And by the way, go ahead.
The Volunteers, I know it's your favorite. You should have called this side of the bracket just so you had to work to the Volunteers.
I can bitch about them later.
Yeah, these guys are a great team. Number 5 seed. When you look at this bracket, this whole bracket is just ridiculous. I still think one of the strongest brackets from a top, because you're going to get down to 6, 7. You can make an argument even 8, 9. Those are great teams. So you got the Wolf Blood here. These guys tailed off a little bit for me. If they've been pretty consistently higher, they're going to be a solid team. CJ Williams, Scott Wood. Look forward to seeing them play, but it's just really jammed up in there right now in Columbus, and they're gonna
biggest riser in this bracket possibly.
Yeah, Menamaki's had some really good ads, this week, and the guard's name's gonna slip my mind. So if you know it, throw it out there. But they had Hummel today as another ad, and I think this is one of the bigger risers. They still got Haas having a really good big guy. Octius is pretty dynamic. Charge guys, they got to pull for him, but I think Menamaki's really done a nice job this year putting their squad together, and they're going to take on Cat 5, the team from Miami. So got them at a 13. I looked at the website today. Julian Gamble's not up there. A guy I really like. Kind of the force in there. So
and the white whale Shane Larkin has not come.
Yeah, I don't think he's showing up for him, but they'll be a solid team. They have some good key components in there. So we'll see how that shakes out. But this once again really, really deep. It kind of formed late, but I like I said, it speaks volumes to how deep and especially top heavy this bracket is.
So Matt, you used to lead an alumni team. I'm a well-known Memphis fan and hater of all things Orange and Tennessee. Is there an advantage not being an alumni team just so people don't hate your guts?
I suppose that is an advantage. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, that's probably true.
This is going to come up a lot because there's 2 other teams we're going to discuss that have a deep and inviting hatred for. And by the way, I say that because I'm a Memphis fan, but you have to mix the hate with the respect. This sports hate's not real hate. And the Volunteers team, let's be clear, this 5 seed could even be, it's just a loaded region. They're a definite contender. They've got shooting toughness. I don't like them one bit, but I respect the hell of them. They're going to be a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous team. Danny, what's your feelings on the buy-in? Any opinion about the buy-in? What do you feel about that?
I don't have $20,000 to buy our team. I think that's what the price tag was.
Yeah.
No, I mean, so I think it's a good idea on TBT's end, and no disrespect or anything to the teams who did it. My personal opinion, if the team is talented enough to really win it, which is the goal, then you'd get in normally. And if not, then why are you paying $20,000 to play a game or two? That being said, I can't tell anyone how to spend their money. And if some team may view the experience as being worthwhile, or that they would just want to not have to stress out bracketology and the bracket reveal and just know they're going to be in. yeah, interesting idea. I honestly didn't expect teams to be taking them up on it, but they did. So good job on TBT, and I'm sure the teams who bought in are happy that they did so.
I think,
and I think all 4 were taken this time. I think they took all 4. So
and they were each
too,
year 20,000 buy-in.
That's too rich for my blood. If I had $20,000, that's a car.
Yeah,
I'm not
20,000.
trying to-
You
20,000.
might be able to buy one superstar player this year.
I was gonna say 20,000. I'd have Tyrese Rice would be higher. Or you just pay 4 guys. Pay 5 guys $4,000. Boom, there's your team. You're a 4 seed.
On that, let's go to the second half of the
We
bracket.
got to see where Matt's head is this year.
The Red Scare, kind of quiet. Hasn't had a lot of buzz this year, but Danger, still a good team. Just haven't heard a lot out of them yet. But at the same time, bringing a roster back that went deep last year, made some additions, still very dangerous. Quiet, but deadly. So, and then we've got Mid-American Unity, obviously a lot of the Mac guys. Charge, go ahead, just say how much you love them real briefly.
I love Mid-American Unity. A lot of guys for the 3-3-0, and why not have a matchup, Red Scare versus Mid-American Unity again? Love Jimmy Haw. I'm really excited to see him playing the TBT. Demetrius Treadwell's back. He's played really well in prior TBTs as a big man, and these guys are going to be tough. I think Red Scare probably doesn't want these guys in the first round after that kind of scary run a couple of years back, but that would be a great matchup for round 1 right there.
Definitely. Okay, so Team Hines, we talked about this, and this is actually our biggest faller. And this comes down to what Charles was talking about earlier. There was some roster shenanigans last day. There always are. We were updating these up till about an hour ago. And the deal is I guess Hines and Everline at one point, back me up here, Charge, they had the same teams kind of like in the air, kind of?
Yeah, I'm not sure, that's what I'm hearing from other folks as well. I didn't hear, it was Hines. I heard KBC was definitely in contention with other teams and a lot of conversation, but it very well could have been Hines that thought they had the KBC guys wrapped up, and then last minute went to Everline. But, that's one of those ones. The rumor mill was flying pretty quick this morning, so we believe that happened. The thing to remember, though, this team may not be done. I mean, $1,000 out of player for those guys.
They're not done. They're not done.
Yeah, so I don't think they're going to show up with the team that's on there. I mean, they got some good ball players, too. I like Whittington. I like Jenkins. I mean, they got some ballers, and if Hines himself plays. So, it's still going to be a good team, and I guarantee you they'll, once they have time to digest what just took place, and especially if that's true that they thought they had the KBC guys, they'll have time to retool and get some videos and, pay to get that team back where they need to be.
100%. And that'd be playing DRC, always a quality team. Some good pedigree there, some talent there. So that could be a pretty interesting first round game. Charge to the right, future guest and the sensation of the media this season.
No, these guys are tough, and they're going to hate being a number 3 still. But where do you put them? You can't put them ahead of Carmen. You can't put them ahead of Red Scare. So I did. Hines fell down and bumped them up from 4 to 3 from our last bracketology. But these guys are great. I'll just reiterate. Should be a slam dunk for a GM of the year unless something just falls off the face of the earth from a play on the court standpoint, which I do not see happening. And I'm going to stick with this Ohio matchup. This Ohio team. I know a lot of people think this is a bubble team, and they probably won't make it. I've heard a couple people comment on that, but obviously you're going to Columbus. These guys had a great run in the NCAA tournament. A lot of buzz. Some of these guys playing for Ohio have played in the TBT before, so they're reliable. I don't think they're a bubble team. I think they're solidly in. We're going to take on down below, and we have the money team. So this team looks a lot different than it did last year. I think they probably learned their lesson about, trying to get that heavy. That it looks more like the team for that team of old. They got Nurse back coaching them. So it looks like a team that's probably going to play together more versus the mess that it was last year. That was just,
and let's note real quick, let's shout out that Brian Tracy, GM of Utah Valor, on our show last night said he would have a 3-round fight with Floyd Mayweather if that's what it took to get the Utah Valor in, which I think is insane.
Dang, that is insane.
So Brian Tracy's ready to get his ass kicked to get his team actually in. So I can respect that. Who's TMT playing? This is a great one. I love this one.
This is another one. People are saying this is another team that's on the bubble. No way.
They're in.
They're in all day long. They've got a fun team. They've got a great guard in Bartolomeo, whatever, Mirabel, a couple guys like Casey, and it's just a good team of Mirabel. Just love them. I think they're gonna put up a really good fight here. I would not be surprised if we did get to 6-11 if they didn't win this game.
Okay, so Danny, impartial viewer, you're not in either region. You're in the last region we're going to show. You're in Peoria. It's considered, when we're talking about this, the regions they're all strong, there's varying strengths. Looking at this now, from top to bottom, is West Virginia or Columbus the harder region? You can make a case either way.
Yeah, I think looking at it, this is my first time getting a full view. I've definitely kept track of the list you guys have posted, but I would say Columbus is a slightly harder region. Top to bottom, I think, that Ohio State team, a team that's won it before, and obviously sideline came very close, but the talent throughout this Columbus region is loaded. And I think a lot of teams who may be more proven in past experiences, and also talent loaded. And, obviously Red Scare and Carmen's Grove at the top, but even teams like Hines and DRC have made a lot of noise in the past. And I'm not seeing the other side of the bracket, but I believe there were a few more that have a lot of, I would say there's more championship contenders in this bracket than there is in West Virginia.
That makes sense. I mean, they're both deep, but this has a little, if that one's deeper all the way to the bottom, this one's deeper in the middle, maybe, I guess, way to look at it. So Matt, we were talking a little bit about like the thing that always happens last couple days where some roster shifts happen, which is totally normal. It's part of this event. What is the latest you've ever lost a guy in your team building on a time frame, like minutes before, seconds before? Like what's the latest you've lost a guy?
Lost a guy, or just guys not showing up?
No, lost a guy. Not showing up is a completely different problem.
Honestly, like in the past, just with the Ram Nation teams, I had guys working with me, Joey Rodriguez, Brandon Rozelle. I just had guys that, people weren't dipping away from it. I didn't lose anyone because they respected those guys. These are, VCU Final Four guys. So no one left us. So I've had guys not show up. And that was a challenge, especially when I bought their fiance a hotel room. But,
both fiancés.
Yes, but we didn't have that. It's more just, just getting guys to show up who say they're committed. That's been my issue.
That makes sense. Charge, the bubble here is impressively nasty. This cut list alone is filled with 12 and 13 seeds.
Yeah, no, this one here was the worst out of all four regions from a cut team. Newman Goretti, we love those guys. They should be in. Hoops for ALSF, love those guys. They worked their tails off. The Panther team, I think you can make an argument for them. RJ Hunter.
Leave me Louisville.
I think they get in if Hunter played. I think he's listed on the website as a coach or assistant coach or something. I don't know if that's going to be. And the one team I do want to call out is Hoop State Mix. So I think this is the team that probably worked the hardest at the deadline and really, start putting together some good content, some good players. And this one may be a little too late, if they would have been promoting earlier, because, that TBT big board's going on, as soon as the last tournament ends, they're already playing in what the next tournament looks like. And I think they really worked hard. I hope I'm wrong, but there's just so many teams here left in the bubble. But, hats off to them. They really put up a nice team and some good content right at the end.
And by the way, good time to mention, we're doing a little bit of a speed dating taping. So if you're seeing the show now, we already have 5 or 6 commitments for some speed dating tomorrow. So we're going to have all these bubble teams you see right on that cut line have a chance to pitch you directly. Me and Charge are going to be doing a little bit of Tinder for basketball tomorrow night. See how it plays out. You can look at Charge's beautiful beard and see if he's a good date. I want to touch on Louisville real quick. They're not on the site. They seem to be announcing things, but they're actually not on the site. It's one thing to not have your team full on the site yet, but not even be on the site's kind of a red flag. And also, when one of your first recruits is Chris Crawford, former Charge guy and Memphis Tiger for Louisville, it doesn't make a lot of sense having a Memphis guy play for Louisville. So that just seems kind of cursed. I'd love to see Louisville in a tournament. Maybe I'd love to see them lose, but I'm not sure this happens. By the way, though, if they get their stuff, they're such a brand name, they definitely can get in. So this is one that's worth watching next week to see if there's something that the paperwork needed to be finalized. So I definitely want to keep my fingers looking at this for a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay, our last region. Go ahead, please.
Hop in for a second.
Please.
Yeah, I just wanted to, obviously you're doing the speed dating tomorrow. I wanted to vouch for the Goretti Saints for a second.
Oh, yeah.
Coming from Philly, people may, I'm sure may not be too familiar with the high school basketball scene, but Newman has, for the better part of my 22 years, has dominated what I think is probably a top 3 or 4 high school basketball league in the nation. An absolutely loaded Philadelphia Catholic League team. I'm not sure if this has been done in the past, but the idea of a high school alumni team is really cool to me, especially any school that would have the talent to get a team in. So I think TBT would be doing a disservice to not let these guys at least show what they have in their first year.
Yeah,
we were supposed to talk to them, but yeah, go ahead.
If one team gets in, it better be Newman Goretti. I mean, these guys here. I tried to count the number of Catholic championships they had by player before we were going to do an interview with those guys. I lost count. It was just like, holy cow, he's won like a zillion in a row, and it's just crazy. So, this one here, I mean, right up until the buy-in, but once again, when you look at some of the teams ahead of them, I'm not sure where you take it from, and I don't know if you see someone on this bracket, Danny, that you pitch out to throw Newman Goretti in. You gotta go there.
I wouldn't do that. It's tough. It's hard to take away any alumni team. I guess I would qualify to play for the nerd team if I was good enough based on my school. I saw Miles Jackson Cartwright is on that team, former Penn guy, so couldn't take them out. But it's hard. Obviously, I'm sure it was a tough job for you guys. It's just maybe TBT will eventually expand back to the 68 play-in or something, but definitely love to see what the Saints can do in the tournament.
So we had this conversation.
To throw out Ohio, come on, Hannah. You can't throw any Ohio teams out, especially playing in Columbus.
Your state, actually, I shouldn't think bad about your state. I'll be going there in a couple of weeks. I probably should keep my mouth shut, actually. I will say this, though. The Saints, Newman Goretti were the last team out. They were actually number 16. The buy-in knocked them out. That was 16. So this is a very difficult. This was the hardest one to do the cut line, right? Charge wasn't even close.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
because of the density
got knocked out.
Okay, one left. We're going to Illinois. We're at my home state, or not my home state, my home grad school. I'm originally from Tennessee, but I went to grad school in Illinois, so it was kind of fun. We're going to start with Golden Eagles, formerly the Warriors, and then the Eagles, and then the Warriors, then the Eagles. The new logo, very interesting. Loaded team, defending champs, not to be screwed with. Another buy-in. Here we go. The B1 Ballers, they bought their win. So who lost that bid? Who lost their bid over 20 grand? Worth mentioning, worth thinking about. 20th and only, very tough team. Part of this Philly to Illinois train we're seeing, basically. And Danny mentioned the flight thing. I guess it makes sense. A Philly to Chicago flight's not that hard to do, right? That's a pretty basic flight. The overlooked Murray State, the offer still stands. Get John Morant on the podcast. Let's do it. Let's have that chat. I will buy a John Morant jersey just for that podcast if he comes on. Charge on the right.
Yeah, so we got number 5. We got the guys from Oregon, the Always Us team. They're going to be really good. The 5 seed, love what they're going to do, and going to be a tough out. Taking on number 12, Bradley, always a Brave. So this one here, host team. That they don't have Walt Lemon. He's with the team Dream 23, whatever team that's going to be. I just see these guys struggling. Always a Brave. So if they get higher than 12, I'd be highly surprised, and probably the host team that's at the greatest risk of losing early.
And the 4th seed, somebody that always bitches about their seed, incessantly bitches about their seed.
Oh, who are these guys? What's going on?
Never
Danny?
Heard of them. Never heard of them.
Are you buying a 4? I can't tell you who's ahead of you, or Hainer will get mad at me. So you have to wait.
That's
to
correct.
See who 2 and 3 are. So we can't go there yet. But so stew on it for a second, and we'll come back to you on the next slide.
After you see 2 and 3, you can complain. Okay.
I'll let my anger build up a bit before I see 2 and 3.
Yeah, but tell me this isn't a matchup that we all want to see. Brotherly Love versus Jimmy V. I mean, come on, Danny versus
the Northeast battle. Yeah,
I don't know if Vinny would want to see that. I've noted. I mean, I really don't want to see that either. I know how much work he puts into that. And obviously, I would love to do battle against them. But Vinny's become a friend of mine. As Matt's mentioned, TBT gives you the opportunity to talk and connect with people. And Vinny and I talk on the phone, every month or so. And I know how much respect he has for our group, and it's mutual. So I'd love to see both of us go far, but if it had to be this way, it would suck to see Vinny's team go out in round one.
It's pretty interesting to see, like, as we've had this podcast the last 2 years and made friends in community, and can't wait to meet a lot of you in person. We won't have that pleasure with you, Daniel, because we're not going to Illinois. But the reality is, like, it is interesting to have made friends through this. And like now it's like watching your children fight, which only means it's awesome. No, I'm kidding. It's just kind of funny, like, you know, watching people you like all have to do battle. It's the nature of the beast, obviously. Matt, so looking at this, what do you make of this whole Philadelphia to Illinois train that's happening here, or this the Northeast? What is going on here?
That's what I was trying to figure out, but I'm glad because it makes room in West Virginia. It makes me feel a little more comfortably in the field. But I mean, that's brotherly love, and in 20th and only, there's some serious Philly in there. I love that LaSalle team too. Obviously, I've seen what brotherly love can do. All these guys basically, you know, beat up on my Rams at one point. And so it's definitely a region I'd be tuned into just from watching these guys play in college.
Yeah, I don't know how we're going to watch the games while we're watching the games. I think we're going to have a computer sideline, like literally watching the games. It's going to be crazy. Okay, so one last half bracket to go. My girlfriend will love this one. Boeheim's Army at number 2, making a lot of moves. They announced a roster. They were this year's OE, waiting to be fashionable and be late. The Tyrese Rice moved them up a line or so. Really talented team.
And you doubted me on the last bracketology about Boeheim's. You're like, these guys are old, they suck, and there you go.
I didn't say it like that.
That's how I interpreted it. That's what I heard come out of your mouth.
I said they were veteran and a little
I would
older.
make the argument Boeheim's is the number 1, but they're not going to, you know, bump Golden Eagles out of the number 1 spot after a championship. But yeah, Boeheim's is the team to beat, and so
I like how you're a homer for Boeheim's. I'm the one sleeping with a Boeheim's Army fan. I don't understand this. Okay, they'll be playing in this bracket Heartfire, a team coming back. No Isaiah Austin though. That will hurt their seed. Still a veteran team. Still someone not to be messed with. The region won a charge fair team, and really a team that's just lying in the weeds in that 5 to 10 range, where it's like no one's going to really see them coming, and they're going to be really dangerous. So a lot of professional quality players versus friend of the pod, and also a dangerous sort of team you don't see coming in Fort Wayne. This is a matchup that would be light on flash but big on battle. Very good workman game. I mean, there'll probably be a few bruises after that game, I think.
Yeah, that would be a fun one to watch. I hope we get that matchup. But obviously, Garrett, pulled out a rabbit out of his hat with Caboclo, which is just a huge pickup. And I'll go out there. Steve Gansey, coach of the tournament this year. You're not going to get a better coach. So he's going to be awesome, and they're going to be well prepared for the tournament.
Okay, to the right.
Number 3, so we do have House of Pain, so that Illinois alumni team. So this is going to be a home regional, for which is kind of scary when you think about it. This place is going to be packed. I guess Boeheim's is orange too, but there's going to be a lot of orange in this building, and for them to go to a 3 seed after the year they had, going to be a home regional, but just shows once again the depth at the top. But going to be a great number 3 seed. And they're
it's only an hour from Champaign-Urbana, so Peoria is not that far away, obviously. Speaking of Peoria,
this one should scare House of Pain too. I'm telling you, Peoria All-Stars, they show up. The team they have on paper this year is much better than the team they had last year as a fill-in. And I think this is going to be a very, very, very intriguing matchup. And I think this could be another one of those upsets.
Oh, God.
And then we got Tubby Time. There's a lot to like.
Charge.
About
Pause. Charge. You're breaking up. I want people to hear us clearly. Go ahead now. Ooh, Charge froze.
Mm-hmm.
Charge, are you going? I think this is the thing about
so Tubby Time moved him on. You got me, or am I broken up again?
I think he's still breaking up.
That's all I got. But yeah, I really like Tubby Time and what they're bringing. Nate Mason's joining that team.
Okay, I muted Charge real quick just because he's breaking up real quick. Charge, I'll bring you back in. Wave your hand once you actually think you have the thing. We're just going to do real quick here. We're going to bring him back. But I will say my bit about Tubby Time while I wait for him to come back is that all the people that are high on Tubby Time didn't watch him as the Memphis coach. Charge, are you back? You sort of phased out there.
I am back. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
I can hear you now. Okay, make your case for Tubby time. We'll live with this nature of
Every
Zoom
time, yeah,
cast.
just because you hate them, but yeah, Colton Iverson and Blockby, Nate Mason, they're just really, really deep and really, really good. And I think a 6 is a good team for them, but I think they may outplay that as well.
Okay, we'll see. I mean, I have my own issues with Tubby time because I think he retired to the Memphis bench to my team's detriment. I'd love to see what we could have been if we hadn't hired him, basically. Okay, and then our last team here, Autism Army, George.
Yeah, Autism Army. So they came out early. Delroy James, D'Angelo, part of this. Another one could be really solid team. But fit them at 11. I think that's a great matchup with Tubby.
Okay, and then there we go for the region. I'm going to go ahead and ask Matt. So Matt, looking at this region, is there anything that strikes you as a really tough matchup?
I mean, I'm curious to see. I mean, I like Boeheim's Army, obviously, but I'm curious to see what Heartfire, if they add anything. I just remember when they first got into it, I felt like this is going to be one of these new power teams. But obviously Boeheim, they're just going to keep adding stuff. And, not to mention they're led by 2 guys from Virginia, Andrew White and Tyrese Rice.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, it looks like there's a lot of tough matchups, honestly, in this part of the bracket in particular. Pretty much almost top to bottom.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Daniel, make your case. Why do we under siege you? Who do you want to knock out? The team that won, the team that brought in Tyrese Rice, the team that went deep last year and has Mike Thom. Who would you like us to put you above?
When it comes to basketball standing, or really any standing, I'm nowhere near Tyrese Rice. Just posing a question: how many games did ALS win last year with Tyrese Rice?
Don't even remember, but I'm assuming it wasn't a very high number.
It was 0.
That was 0? Okay.
So, I mean, he's a great player. I've watched him a lot. I don't think it's cause to, crown them champions. I think, Boeheim's brings a lot every year. But they also had a loaded roster when we went into their house and beat them by 10 or 12 to win that region. I think if anyone were to look at the 2 rosters, you would certainly have seeded them ahead of us that year. And some may say an upset. I thought we just kind of were the better team and were cohesive. House of Pain, also a good team. If we play them, we'll see. I think Matt can sympathize with the fact that, our 3 losses in the past 3 years have been 2 to Golden Eagles and 1 to a team with Kyle Hines and Mike James. I don't think there's any shame in those. I say he can sympathize because of the amount of times that they had to go up against overseas elite, and some of these teams can be overlooked. But when you really look back at their history, we've essentially beaten any team that wasn't these super teams for TBT standards. So we'll see. I can live with 4. I'd probably prefer to avoid Golden Eagles until Dayton. But as I said earlier, if we have to see them, then we may as well see them in the region.
Absolutely fair enough. You got to beat the champs to be the champs. By the way, speaking of Mike James played 3 minutes tonight, but he played in an NBA playoff game. So you can go from TBT to the NBA. Mike James is walking proof. You can do that and do it at a high level. Charge, there's some cuts up there that hurt, but talk about the one that hurts the most.
Yeah, so you got me back on sound?
Yeah, you're good now.
I switched over to my Verizon connection. So Courtyard, Oklahoma City Airport, if you need a good connection, avoid Courtyard, Oklahoma City. That's okay. But yeah, no, there's 2 really painful ones here for me. I think CD Hoops is probably one of the more talented teams that's getting cut. It's just one of those ones. They got Billy Garrett, Mike Henry, got some great players on that team. It's another one. Where do you really fit them in? They're not a known team to TBT. They've got some guys who played TBT, but really no narrative. But the one that's really painful is Jackson, Tennessee underdogs. Obviously, they lost Barford this year. They were teed up to host a regional 2 years ago. So I think TBT is going to try everything they can do to get Jackson, Tennessee underdogs into the TBT this year. But just with the roster they have, I just can't see who you're going to bump out to help Jackson, Tennessee underdogs out this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because like you can say that no team has lost more in last year's due to COVID maybe than Jackson. They lose the hosting and then they lose Barford, and they were going to go from a contender of a story to a team that's scrapping it back in. But having said that, a team scrapping in is kind of their identity. So, I mean, maybe World's doing them a great favor by underestimating them and watching them win that 16-1 for the first time. So who knows? Any closing thoughts? Matt, you've seen our bracket now. Is there anything that's sort of hitting you interesting that sort of you feel is an overarching theme of the teams that were selected, the teams that are not, what it means to be a member of the 64-team bracket?
I mean, the thing that I've just seen year after year is just how much deeper, and it hits me every year when the brackets do come out, how much deeper the tournament has gotten. It felt like, just the fact that some of my earlier teams were 2 seeds, you know what I mean? I'm like, where would those teams have been in this field? So that's kind of the main thing that just really punches me in the face is, the field is so loaded, and just even when we reach out to people now, people know this tournament a lot more, and I just think it's just so much more respected than it was when we started in 2016 or whatever.
Absolutely. Danny, we give you a lot of crap about the seeding joking, but it's all in good fun on Twitter. How hype are you? Because honestly, we talk about all this, but you have a real contender this year. How do you feel about going out to Illinois? Do you think, like, how excited are you to get back to this?
Yeah, I'm incredibly excited about our group this year. I think we have to be pretty smart and purposeful in our last few moves. I'd say we have about 2 more to make, and I think they're going to go the right way. But I think the thing I'm most excited for is last summer we made some big ads. I was very excited, particularly about a guy like DJ Newbill, and I'm not sure if it was really talked about on the broadcast or not, but we lost Franz Massenat, who's still out in Spain. So kind of being able to like bring the old back with the new guys we added this year and last year. And, even guys like Mikkel Stevens that was formerly our center is now a GM. So it's kind of a family thing with us, and we try to keep everyone together. But, the theme of bringing the old back while also having the new still with us, and being able to do that in the non-COVID year, I think could bring some special results that will hopefully push us past the quarters, which is where we've been put out both of the past 2 years.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to seeing your team contend. Charge, I know we're both really excited about this. What excites you most about next week? Like seeing the team movement, seeing the news is going to leak out. Like what's the most exciting thing for the next week?
I think even though this was the application deadline, I still think there's going to be an incredible amount of maneuvering. So maybe not just over this next week as we lead into the selection show. I think obviously TBT probably has a good idea, where everything's going to get ranked. So I don't necessarily know any moves are going to impact that this late in the game, but I'm just excited to see where these final moves show up, because they're going to come. And, to Matt's point about the depth of this year. I mean, last year we only had a do bracketology on 24 teams. The year before they were 8 regions at 8, and so to get to 4 regions, 64 teams has been brutal. And like you said, we always talk about the TBT. They have a an incredible rate of seeding. They have a great panel of folks who do this, and I'm really looking forward to see how our predictions play out and see how it compares to TBT.
No, fair enough. Well, gentlemen, Danny from Brotherly Love, Matt from Bleed, Virginia, my partner Charge. This is Andrew Hayner. We're signing off ZoomTheTBT's Bracketology 1 week from Showdown Day. Come back soon. See you guys later.
Hope you enjoyed listening to Zoom the TBT with Charge and Hayner. Subscribe to YouTube, follow on Twitter, and give us your money.